It's my pleasure and honor to have Professor R. Rajinikanth to weigh in on the entry of Rajinikanth into politics. Finally, it appears that he has arrived. And to understand a little bit more, we spoke about this about 2 years ago, but that was a conversation we had in Tamil, I should say. And this is the time that we are discussing about Rajinikanth's entry into politics, finally, in English. Professor RV, namaskaram and welcome to PGurus channel, sir.
Namaskaram. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, sir, and we have
there been any improvement in our viewership, subscription, etc.?
Well, we are getting there, sir. We have 100,000 we have crossed now, but this pace is still not picked up. I was hoping that it will pick up, but
okay.
Yeah, I can, see if all our subscribers, current subscribers, get one each, then we can easily double this, and thereby, we can become more self-reliant, and that kind of puts less pressure on you to feel that you need to donate. So please help yourself.
Get one.
Yes, each one get one, and. Okay. Thank you very much, Professor RV, for reminding me. So what do you think, sir? Is this now for real, or is Rajini going to again pull back?
Okay. First and foremost is, he has told that he will announce on December 31 about formation of a party in January. So between now and December 31, much water can flow under the Kuvam. So that we should be very careful, because he has earlier also he has announced and then not done anything, and that's the first point. Second is it will have an impact, definitely. Some people say no, nothing. He is not is a spent force and other thing. I don't think so. It will have an impact on the political. How large the impact is going to be is very important. Is it going to be a shaking both the traditional Dravidian parties, or is it going to be something which will be a breeze like? First and foremost is, everybody is talking about Anmiga Arasiyal, which loosely translated could be spiritual politics. Now we should be very clear, what he means by Anmiga Arasiyal is not Hindutva or Sanatana Dharma. His spiritualism encompasses other things also. Like for instance, the people who visit church, he treats them also as spiritual. People who go to mosque are also spiritual. People who go to Gurudwara also. So his spiritual, will be defined as transcending religions, individual religions. It will be some sort of a all-encompassing spiritual activity. So that is the first point we should remember, because he is not going to, if he plunges into politics, he is not going to, have any major laws vis-a-vis Muslims or Christians. That's the first point. Second is, he has an advantage. One is that, the caste combination in Tamil Nadu is very, very tricky. After Kamaraj, actually, this is the first time a dominant caste person like EPS, Gounder, is ruling the state for nearly 4.5 years. In between, if you see, Karunanidhi, who claimed to be belonging to the most small section of the weakest caste. Then we had MGR, Jayalalitha, so many of these people who are all can't be identified with any particular and they were also told that you are outsiders. For instance, Karunanidhi used to tell Jayalalitha is a Kannadiga, MGR is a Malayali, but none of them clicked actually. None of them worked. So, by and large, Tamil people would prefer somebody who is quote unquote casteless. In the sense, it's very difficult to identify that person with any particular caste. The reason is, such a person would be able to be more impartial in terms of, like, in the old saying is, for instance, many people in Tamil Nadu would prefer a Sardar or a UP person as the collector of their district. because they feel that those people will be more neutral, or more what you may loosely call not take sides in the local issues. So same way they would prefer. So from that angle, Rajini is somebody who can't be identified with any particular caste or anything. Yes.
Sir, one question that I have is, you identified the main castes in India, in Tamil Nadu, as Devas, Gaundars, Nadars, and Vanniyars, right? Those are the four main things. Now, what about people who go by Mudaliyars and Chettiars and so on? Are they part of the other group, or how does that happen, sir?
No, they are also, but they are numerically small.
I see.
Among the four whom you told, the numerically large are Tevars and Vanniyars. Of course, no census has ever been done, caste basis census. Gaundars and Nadars are extremely powerful business and commerce wise. I think I did mention roughly 40% of the private business in Tamil Nadu is controlled by Gaundars and Nadars. Private, I am telling about. So others are very, very small. These Madaliyars, Chettiars are, these are not very large groups or anything in terms of voting. And the Tevars and Vanniyars are also, there are huge number of subcastes now, everybody calling themselves as Vanniyar. As I told, the aggregation is critical in a democratic system. Like Tevars are Mukkulathur, three communities are there within Tevars, Hagamudayar, Kallar and Maravar, but all three are calling themselves as Tevars nowadays. Anyhow, so Rajini, one thing they can always say, Rajini is a Kannadiga, he is actually originally from Maharashtra, but he has spent a good number of years in Karnataka, so he can be also called a Kannadiga. As I lightheartedly tweeted, the entire Dravidian movement started by E.V. Ramsamy Nayakar, who is also from Karnataka actually. So what was started by a Kannadiga may be, put a full stop by another Kannadiga. That could be what is loosely called the karma which operates, right? Anyhow, that's not very, it could be, but I don't think that will also work, because he has been in Tamil Nadu for too long a period to be not identified as a Tamilian or anything. Maybe some 4 decades or something like that order. So from the caste point of view as well as region, for instance, MGR also is from Kerala, and that didn't work out. That he is a Malayali, and people didn't bother actually. Actually, people felt more comfortable because they felt that he will be more neutral, or sort of that is one important thing. So he has an advantage. The disadvantages could be several. One is, yes, literally not having a huge party setup across the state, particularly at the lower levels. District level, yes, he has got his fans association and other thing. But lower than district, tehsil levels and the village levels, that is one thing. And time is short for him. He is aged. That is also to be kept in mind. And he already, he himself has told, he has gone through a kidney transplant, and to that extent his health has to be kept in mind, assuming that this COVID type of viruses are still around. So all these factors also have to be taken into account, plus funding. Huge amount of funding is required in a place like Tamil Nadu to conduct your election activities. And also people are used to some amount of money being given for voting. That's one of the common requirements for public. Let's see how he deals with these things. In terms of alliances, see, he will not accept BJP as some sort of a senior partner. As far as he is concerned, BJP is a very, very junior partner. In other words, he visualizes himself as a very larger than life leader, whether one likes it or not. And to that extent, he is not going to, if at all he may treat BJP as one of the smaller alliances. That is also very doubtful whether he would at all go with BJP. That is something which we should keep in the back of the mind. Immediately people say, no, Rajini, BJP, ADMK, it's not going to be very easy like that actually. One possibility is a reasonable portion of ADMK, not a very large chunk, some chunk of ADMK may move out and then get into alliance with Rajini. Similarly, some leaders, not necessarily a huge chunk of DMK also may move if they perceive he is a vote catcher. And M K Azhagiri also may have his support for Rajini if he feels that he can get some number of seats in the southern belt. These are various possibilities are there actually, but it is all a function of their assessment of his how many votes he can gather. If they feel he can gather adequately, then only these movements will take place. And from his point of view, my assessment is even if he gets 40 to 60 range MLAs, which is a very large number for a entry level person, it would be a very interesting thing because that would become a balancing factor. See, we have 234 numbers in Tamil Nadu Assembly. If he is having, let's say, 60, the remaining something like 150 or so, or 230 minus remaining 170 or so. If these two major parties, get something like 80, 75, and then other smaller parties get other, then his role will become very important. Even with 40, some people say with 40 seats what he can do. They do not realize in adjacent Karnataka, with 28 seats, that man became chief minister actually. So he may not become CM, but this is something which. Second is, he is not somebody who is easy pushover. Whatever my little reading is, he has got his own bloated ego or whatever you call it. He thinks he can take appropriate decisions. So if somebody thinks that he can guide him and all those things, is not going to work. He's I am sure that he will make his own decisions, good or bad. Even in this area of entering, there were a lot of talks that he is not going to enter, he is going to announce, but finally he told, I am entering. So we have to wait. There is another X factor which is interesting, is what I call minimum. Minimum is mum is Amma. Chinna Amma is expected to come out in the month of January or something perhaps. I call small mum, somebody small Amma, small mother, but somebody told minimum will be a good name actually. So I agree with that. She is expected to come definitely in the end of January. Her term will be over and she is. But there are also speculative reports that she may come earlier, taking into account that grace which is given for, per month you get some number of days of, and she seems to apply. These are, reports in the newspapers. Anyhow, whenever she comes, that is also going to be equally important, because forget about Tamil Nadu people. Within our party, I am given to understand by some of the AIDMK leaders themselves that her hold is still there. Because large number of these district level office bearers and less than that, tehsil level and village level, were all appointed by her during her time as a assistant to or friend to Jayalalitha or whatever it is. So most of them have good amount of loyalty for her. They feel that she is the one who has identified. Second is, she is very capable in terms of allocating resources, who should get how much and all that thing. She is very good in that. Third is, our community people are all with her. She belongs to Tevar community, Tanjavur, but still there is a huge amount of support from her community within her party. So there are some people who say that why should this current dispensation worry about her? All that is big talk. Finally, what matter is how much the cadres are with you. That is the touchstone, not anything else. So good amount of cadres, if they are shown to be with her. For instance, if she holds a rally or she comes by open jeep in some location and huge amount of her followers gather to greet her or whatever is the thing. If she could prove that she has a significant amount of cadre following, I think then the party has to rethink its strategy. She, nominally, she was the general secretary at the time of going to prison. And again, corruption, this is something which is not going to make a big hit. For the simple reason, story I think you might recall. One lady went to Buddha and told that my son is died and can you give life to him? Buddha told, yes, I can, but only thing is you go around and get the small mustard seed from any family in whose in the family there should not be any death. If you can go around and collect the mustard and come back to me, I will give life to your son. And obviously she didn't succeed. The same way is this corruption issue. You go around, any all around Tamil Nadu politician to find out who is not corrupt. You are not going to succeed in that. Plus, she has, spent her time in jail. In other words, your prayachitta has been done also for your corruption. Yes.
Sir, she cannot contest elections for some amount of time, right?
It doesn't matter for her. It's not. I don't think she was ever interested in contesting election or anything. It's a question of controlling the party. That is much more critical. And then telling who can be minister of what and other thing. That's what That's what ultimately matters. So like Sonia, for instance, she never contested any election. But I don't think you can accuse her of not having any power, right? So during that period between 2004 and 2019, anyhow. So 14. So anyhow, so that is also going to be a destabilizing factor. So there are too many churning is taking place in Tamil Nadu. The Rajini factor, Azhagiri also having some role to play. You may not win a huge number of seats to become CM or anything. But, in Tamil Nadu today, even if you can affect 20 to 25 constituencies, you become a important person. That is one thing. And many constituencies, if you look back at 2016 election, you will find the gap between the winner and the loser was 1,000 votes, 1,500 votes like that. So that's not something huge. Third is, very interestingly, from 67, DMK has never stood alone. It was always in alliances with other parties, except they were not part of the government later. When the government was formed, only DMK. And it never touched, three figures. More than 100 numbers for quite a long time, and that is the reason Karunanidhi was forming the government with some 85 or 90, and Jayalalitha always used to taunt him as a minority government. He was called, his government was called minority government, minority leader and other things. So this is something to remember, that this individual parties, if you are identified as getting some 10 to 15 seats even, you become very important. My own forecast is, I think we will end up with a coalition government in Tamil Nadu after independence. This is the first time it's going to happen, because of the various permutation combinations which are quite possible, and people are going to ask for the head. In the sense, if I have even 25, 30 seats, I am not going to give up. I would like to have a minister of my choice and other. Because every minister post is a ATM in Tamil Nadu. Everybody knows about it. So there is no two opinion on this. So my hunch is Rajini would like to play a dominant role only. He would not like to play a subordinate role. What he would plan or what he would think of doing is get some chunk from ADMK, maybe a couple of leaders from DMK, and even BJP, I wouldn't be surprised. Somebody goes to him, and then he forms a sort of a loose alliance with some other small parties like Tamuka, or all those disgruntled elements. And he would not really go with any of these EVR groups and other things, given his interest in spiritual. And he would like to keep the Muslim and the Christian votes also intact. I'm sure he will visit some mosque and some church and other thing in the name of Anmiga Arasiyal. He is perceived as a clean fellow because he is untested, first of all. and he is also perceived to be, above, transcending caste and even transcending religion, as well as the transcending the state barriers and other things. So to a good extent, there is a possibility he would succeed, but how much he will succeed, we have to wait and see. And if there is going to be a three-front fight, in the sense ADMK and DMK and Rajini, what is going to be the impact of that? Some people say ADMK votes, anti-ADMK votes will be, anti-DMK votes will be split, another thing. I don't give so much credence about it, because it's not the question of splitting this or splitting that or anything, and it's all a question of how much the minimum can come and to deal with the ADMK factor. Actually, will he go with minimum is another issue. That is something which is to be weighed very seriously. And if it happens, then DMK is finished. One can easily say that, actually, but one doesn't know what is his plans vis-a-vis Amma, who is going to come out. And ultimately what matters is this permutation combination of these dominant communities and business communities. But one important factor is, in Tamil Nadu, there are many reports which suggest that Christians and Muslims could constitute as high as 15%. Because many places Christians have not announced that they are Christians, because they feel that they might lose their reservation and other benefits. But when it comes to poll, they would definitely go with the the religious factor also. So, and if you add SC ST with that, it could come to a very good number of 30%. So that is something which we have to keep in the back of the mind. So what is the nature of that permutation combination? And there are many global forces which are operative in Tamil Nadu, and how are they going to impact the election in terms of destabilizing Tamil Nadu, or what is to be done, another thing. Anyhow, we are into interesting times, and interesting times are challenging times, and also very great times for channels like PGurus, because you can have more what one can call coverage and other thing, right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And in passing, a couple of small things. One is that this year, Tamil Nadu was rated the best performing government in all of India, corruption notwithstanding. And also, this is a ranking that the government provides. And also, for those of you who are interested in knowing how Rajini got his name, his original name is Shivaji Rao Gaikwad, and he's supposed to have been inspired by the character of Shivaji Ganesan in a movie called Gauravam, where he plays the role. His name of the character was Rajinikanth, and evidently that's what inspired him to adopt the name Rajinikanth. So we don't know for a fact, but these are all nice tidbits. We don't know if that's true or not. But be that as it may,
one thing you should know, very important, in ease of doing business, Tamil Nadu occupies 13th place among the 19 best states. Ease of doing business, this is index is prepared annually, biannually by some agencies actually. Tamil Nadu is 13th, 1-3 among all the states, and UP stands number 1.
Yes, sir. I have a horror story to tell where it was related to me. There was a volunteer organization which wanted to conduct a symposium for cow culture in Coimbatore, and to get some grants from the central government, they had to, central government said that you need to come through your panchayat office, and only through them you can apply. And the panchayat office wanted an exorbitant amount of bribe for them to apply for this. And they got so disgusted with it. They said, we will raise the money in private sector, and they didn't even bother doing it. And they were amazing. They got so much stuff done. They said, from here on, we will never need to go to panchayat to get this thing. This is the state of affairs in Tamil Nadu. They are ruthless. They are thugs, immoral, and whatever it is, that is how you have to deal with it. If we ever get ourselves into the unfortunate situation of having to deal with the bureaucracy in Tamil Nadu, you have to lump it. Sir, thank you very much, sir, and we'll be following this very closely. You never know with Rajini. He has done some volte-face before. So until he really announces his party's name and spells out what it's going to do, we will never be able to say for sure what his plans are. Thank you very much, sir.